Have you ever felt that sinking feeling in your stomach when you realize you've said too much? When you've spilled every detail of your plan, revealed your hand completely, and watched as someone else took control of the conversation? I have, and it was the most expensive lesson I've ever learned. Picture this. I'm sitting across from a potential business partner. I'd prepared for weeks, but the moment I opened my mouth, I couldn't stop talking. I explained my strategy, my concerns, my backup plans. By the end, he didn't just know my business model, he knew exactly how to undercut me. 6 months later, I watched him launch his own version of my idea, using the insights I'd handed him on a silver platter. That failure taught me something revolutionary. The most powerful people in any room are rarely the ones talking the most. They're the ones who understand that true influence comes not from the volume of your words, but from the precision of your silence. We live in a world that worships noise. We celebrate the loudest voice, the person who can fill every awkward pause. But what if this entire approach is fundamentally backwards? Studies show that when powerful people enter a conversation, they naturally say less, while those with less power feel compelled to fill every silence. It's as if insecurity drives us to verbal excess. But here's the secret. You don't need to wait for power to teach you this lesson. You can flip the script right now. You can command attention not through volume, but through 3 simple habits that will transform how people respond to you. Habit 1. Listen to control reality. Most people think listening is passive. They're wrong. It's the most active form of control you can exercise. When you truly listen, you gain access to the other person's frame of reference, their version of reality. And once you understand their frame, you can change it. I learned this from a master negotiator who called it Conversational Aikido. Instead of fighting someone's perspective, you redirect it. This works in the boardroom, but it also works when a friend says, "I'm worried this trip will be too expensive." Instead of arguing, you absorb and reframe. So what you're saying is our priority is to create an amazing experience that feels smart and responsible financially. I love that. Let's look at how we can do it. You didn't dismiss their concern. You validated it and used it as the foundation for a solution that serves your goal. This is listening to control reality. But what do you do when the other person isn't just concerned, but hostile? For that, you need a technique that works directly on their brain chemistry. Habit 2. Mirror to disarm. This habit is about using 2 precise techniques to defuse tension and create an almost hypnotic sense of understanding. The first is echoing. When someone makes a strong statement like, "This whole situation is completely unfair," you simply repeat their key words with a questioning tone. Completely unfair? Then you wait. They will almost always elaborate, giving you their real concerns. The second technique is labeling. You identify and name the emotion they're experiencing. It sounds like you're feeling frustrated. The moment you accurately label someone's emotion, something powerful happens. The rational part of their brain kicks in, and the fight-or-flight response subsides. You're literally calming their brain with your words, making them open to your influence. But the most powerful habit of all requires no words at all. Habit 3. Use silence as your secret weapon. This isn't about being quiet. This is about weaponizing pause, and mastering it is how a single moment of strategic silence once earned me an extra $15,000 per year. There are 3 types of strategic silence. The first is the authority pause, a deliberate 3-second silence before you respond to a challenge. It signals that you're thoughtful and in control. The second is the amplification pause, the silence after you've delivered an important point. It forces the other person to process what you've said, giving your words weight and impact. The third, and most powerful, is the information pause. Ask a question and then remain completely silent. I used this in a salary negotiation. I stated my desired figure and then said nothing. The silence was uncomfortable, but I held my ground. Finally, the hiring manager said, "That's higher than we typically pay, but I think we can make it work." One pause, $15,000. Now, you have the 3 habits, but there is one final crucial piece, because there is a trap that 9 out of 10 people fall into, turning this power into weakness. The trap is confusing strategic silence with passive silence. The most important distinction you will ever learn is this: strategic silence is a choice you make to achieve an outcome. Passive silence is what happens when you're afraid to speak up. Strategic silence is a tool of influence. Passive silence is a symptom of fear. So how do you know the difference? Intention. The person practicing Tihaya Blast is always in control. They are pausing to make a point, mirroring to understand, listening to reframe. They are an active participant, a quiet conductor. The passive person has simply checked out. They've given up their power. When you master these habits, you are never passive. You are simply choosing your moments with devastating precision. I saw this firsthand with a client, David, a brilliant engineer who was constantly overlooked. He had a habit of over-explaining, of trying to prove his intelligence with a flood of words. We worked for 3 months on these 3 habits and the intention behind them. The results were stunning. He was promoted twice. His boss began including him in high-level discussions. He told me, "I used to feel like I was fighting to be heard. Now I feel like people are fighting to hear me." That's the power of this approach. It's all based on a single principle. True power comes not from controlling others, but from controlling yourself. When you master your own reactions, when you become the person who responds rather than reacts, you become magnetic. People are drawn to stability, to the rare individual who can stay calm in the storm. In a world where everyone is shouting, the person who whispers commands attention. In a world where everyone is reacting, the person who responds holds the power. And in a world where everyone is desperate to be heard, the person who truly listens controls the conversation. The quiet revolution starts with you. The question isn't whether you have the ability to transform your influence, but whether you have the courage to embrace the power of saying less while meaning more.